waterfront property in the Knoxville area. This is the basics. This is the very beginning. This is like, I want waterfront, but I don't really know anything about water. What? This is inspired by a lot of things. And also a recent transaction where I had a client that was like, waterfront would be nice because there's so many waterfront options, but this was his first time dabbling in the process. So that is the main inspiration. P.S. by the way, also my husband knows all the things about water, and I didn't really grow up on the water. So until I met him 10 years ago, I didn't know that much about any of this stuff either. So hopefully this is helpful. No, it's going to be helpful. Okay, so let's dive in. We're talking Knox area waterfront property. If you're thinking of buying, here's what you should know. This is basic level, okay? I'll do like an advanced version, but this is like the very, very beginning. Like Maria from, what's the movie? You know what I'm talking about. How do you solve a problem like Maria?
How do you solve a problem like Maria?
You know what I mean? She was like escaping from the Nazis. I can't remember the name of the movie. You're with me. If you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, what is the name of that? This is going to drive me crazy. It's going to come to me probably about... Okay, anyways. Number one, the number one thing that you need to know is the 3-letter word. It's actually an acronym. TVA, Tennessee Valley Authority. The Tennessee Valley Authority is that. They are the authority pretty much on everything waterfront that you are going to dabble in the state of Tennessee, as well as multiple other states. But just for context, TVA manages 33 reservoirs in Tennessee, which include Boone, Cherokee, Chickamauga, Douglas, Fort Loudon, Fort Patrick Henry, Great Falls, Melton, Nickajack, Nolichucky, Normandy, Norris, Ocoee 1, Alcoa 2, Alcoa 3, Raccoon Mountain, South Holston, Tellico, Timmsford, Watauga, Wattsbar, and Wilbur, along with 8 small reservoirs in the Beach River watershed in West Tennessee and portions of Kentucky, Pickwick, and Guttersville Reservoir. The reservoirs have a combined surface area of about 300,000 acres and about 7,000 miles of shoreline, okay? Just Tennessee River itself is about 652 miles, over 40,000 miles total, but 652 miles of Tennessee River property water. So I'm saying that because they're in charge.
And the law.
Okay, I want you to know this. They're in charge of the dock permits. They're in charge of whether or not you can add vegetation on your waterfront property. They are in charge. So I'm just gonna leave that there for you, okay? Now, I know a lot of people on the water, okay? Not trying to name drop, I'm just telling you that I'm not saying this as like a, oh my gosh, you gotta call the TVA about everything, but I am telling you the TVA is in charge, okay? They are in charge. Let that be your takeaway.
I am the law.
So, that being said, essentially, this is what you should need to know. If you're buying waterfront property, and I'm reading this directly from TVA's website. Number one, TVA owns land or land rights, such as the right to flood the land or prevent certain construction along most reservoir shoreline. It's important to understand the TVA land and land rights before you list, sell, or buy waterfront property. Okay, so this is that's where we're starting. TVA is in charge. So that being said, before we get into like, is there a dock? Is there not a dock? Let's talk about why do you want waterfront property to begin with? So you may be like, well, because, no, seriously, what do you want waterfront property for? Do you want it so you can look out over your back deck and you can sip your wine or drink your coffee and have water, okay? A water view. Do you want to be able to walk out to the water and get on your boat? Do you want to be able to put your canoe in on the water? So maybe you just want a small creek that goes to a bigger body of water. Or maybe you want your pontoon boat, your 40 footer. Is that even a thing, a 40-foot pontoon boat? Let's say your 22-foot pontoon boat with your 250 motor, because you want to fly to get to the marina to watch the band or whatever. Like, what do you want waterfront for? And I'm not saying this to be funny. I'm just saying that, for example, if you are thinking, I want to buy a piece of waterfront property and I want to drive my boat to be a part of the Vol Navy. Cool. That is going to put you in very specific areas that are going to best serve that purpose. However, maybe you don't care about that. Maybe you want water frontage where you can just go sit out on your dock and fish. But maybe you're not taking your boat. You're not taking a big old boat, so you don't need wide land. Or maybe you want to water ski right off of your property. Well, that's going to require a certain type of water and is going to guide you where to buy. Another thing to note about why you want waterfront property is maybe you don't need necessarily waterfront, but you want water access, aka perhaps there is a neighborhood that has a marina where you have a boat slip, maybe deeded with the property. So you're not on waterfront, but you've got great water access. You've got a deeded boat slip, which is high dollar value. And maybe you actually have a water view, but your property is not on the water. So that's something else to think about. What do you want? Why do you want this waterfront property? Does it need to be in a neighborhood? Does it need to be outside of a neighborhood? Does it need to be sitting right on the water or access to? Does the water need to be walkable for you? Or maybe there's a park walkable that's on the water and you're okay with that. So all these things to consider, that there are communities where maybe you're not on the water, but you have a boat slip that's walkable because you're within the neighborhood, and because you're in the neighborhood, you can have a slip at that neighborhood's marina. So that's that. The other question is, do you want waterfront year round? And what do you want the water for? What's the purpose? If the purpose is to review, then maybe we're not buying a waterfront that doesn't have a view of water. Maybe it's a muddy view from September to April. You know what I'm saying? So you want to know what your waterfront property is for, because that is going to guide you in terms of location. So once you determine what you want your water property for, then you want to ask yourself, do I need a dock? Based on why you want waterfront property, what you're buying it for, do you need a dock? Number one. Number two, do you want a property that already has a dock or has a dock permit on file? Now, if you are looking at properties that already have a dock permit, the positive thing is it already exists, right? When you purchase a property that has a dock permit, you've got 60 days as of the time of making this video. This is December 2023. So obviously go check the TVA website and make sure it's still a 60-day window. You've got 60 days to reapply for a dock permit. Now, it is very important that you not only see that the permit exists, that the person has a permit, you also want them to show you the drawing of the dock, of the structure on the existing permit. Because when you submit your new application, because you just bought this property, if you submit an application that does not match what's happening, what the permit is for, that's going to complicate the process, right? I'm not saying you won't be able to get the permit. I'm just telling you the permit is for what the permit says it's for. So if the permit you have is for a very small dock that has no, outbuilding or whatever on the edge of the land, but what you're buying has a dock with a lift and there's a covered area and multiple parts and pieces and whatever. If it doesn't match, that's going to complicate you being able to transfer the permit originally into your name. So if you're looking at a property, it has a dock. Number one, you want to see the permit, that it exists. And number two, you want to match the permit to what is currently there sitting in the water. In an ideal scenario, the permit exists. Seriously. Number 2, everything matches. Okay, if it doesn't match, that's a hurdle you can overcome, but I'm just telling you that TVA wouldn't necessarily say like it's transferable, but if it's the same, it's going to be an easy process to transfer. It's going to be quicker, more smooth, less questions, right? Now, if there are changes, then you're going to have to apply anyways, okay? So it is what it is. Now, what if you're looking at a piece of property that doesn't have a dock, but there's a permit on file? Permits on file are good for 18 months. Go to the TVA website at the time of making this video. I want to throw that out there to you. So there could be a permit on file, but there is no current dock. If it's 18 months or older, you're gonna have to reapply anyways. However, you do kind of have the assurance that like this is a dockable piece of property. If there is no dock, and there's no permit, you then want to find out if it's dockable. So I have included a link and a map where you can literally go type in an address and you can see what it's saying. Now, the TVA website is very clear in telling you that the only way that you can know for sure if this is dockable is if you apply and they tell you yes. Which is not very reassuring. Okay, so I just want to I acknowledge that's not the answer you wanted to hear, right? Technically, the only way that you can be sure that this piece of property is dockable is by submitting a permit. Now, I have had a listing where it was waterfront. There was no permit because it was not dockable. And we knew that because we knew that the land, it was in Tellico, and like the neighbor next door had a dock, but essentially there was a section of land between the property and the water itself that was part of Tellico Property Owners Association and could not be docked. Okay, so we knew that, right? So if it's not dockable, it's probably going to be obvious because no one's tried to, like, it's going to be obvious because someone has tried to do it in the past, right? But I do just want to tell you that the only way that you for sure know is when you submit the permit and TVA says approved. Now, we got a permit for some property we have on the river, and it was very quick process. The TVA website makes it sound like it could be forever. That was not our experience when we got a permit for one of our pieces of property. So that being said, I want it to be very clear that the only way you can know for sure is by applying, but use the map tool that I'm putting here. Literally, you can type in, and it's basically saying that there's certain zones on that map that you can see. It says generally locations that are allocated as a zone 1 non-TVA shoreland or zone 7 shoreline access are eligible for residential shoreline construction. So then you can go in and check the map, type in the address. Literally, you just type in the address and you see what zone that is. Some of it's going to be obvious, like you can't put a dock there based on the address. Go check that out. Go follow the link and type it in and you can figure it out. Okay, so now here's some other just notes. Let's review. TVA, they're in charge. Number 2, why do you want the water? What's the water for? Do you need a neighborhood with access, or do you actually want to be sitting on the water, looking out of the water from your kitchen table or whatever? And then what do you need it for? Do you need to be able to take your boat and in 1 second you can be paddleboarding or not paddleboarding, wakeboarding? Or do you want to just paddleboard and you can just walk out onto the lot? Do you need access from the property to the water that is without steps? Just want to make that point to you. Okay, so why do you need the water? Okay, I say that because, like, for example, Douglas, I feel like you're just like off a cliff on a lot of lots. Okay, question number 4. Number 3 was dockable. Dock. Okay, number 4, year-round water. This is a thing. The water is dropped. TVA is managing hydroelectricity, and water is dropped throughout the winter for a couple of reasons. We're not going to get into that because that's not what this is about. But the main point is to find out, because of why you need the water, do you need or want or require year-round water? If you want year-round water, you're going to need to be on the main channel of a lake or the river. If you are looking on Douglas or Norris, for example, or Cherokee, the water is going to drop significantly. And even parts of like the Tennessee River, like back off in the holler, I should say, they don't have year-round water. So how do you find that out? Google Earth can be a good help for that. Neighbors, ask the locals, go around, go to the nearest marina. They're gonna tell you. The seller should tell you. Neighbors will always tell you pretty much. And then if you go, just go to the nearest marina and they can tell you for sure. Or call me and I can let you know. So year-round water, I just want to throw that out there. Some stuff looks beautiful in the summer, and then literally it's a mud hole, a mud pit. Number 5, if you do need a boat or you have a boat, are you going to, if you do have a boat and you purchase a property that does not have year-round water, what is your plan for the winter? Storage, marina. How much is a boat slip? Do you need a covered boat slip? Do you need a lift? Are their slips big enough? Do you want it to be wrapped and in a lift inside all winter? Like, what is that situation? Where's the closest marina? What is the cost to you going to be for that? Or are you going to keep it in the water all year round, or maybe on a lift? So that's something to think about too. When you're looking around for marinas that are close in proximity to the property you're looking at, you're also wanting to ask questions about cost. Is there a wait list? That kind of stuff. So yeah, and then sometimes, like for example, there's additional costs if it's covered versus not covered, or if it has electricity or doesn't have electricity. So things to think about in terms of boat storage if you are purchasing a property in general, but also especially if the water is dropping. Like, are you going to store it in your yard? Are there restrictions against that? Like, you want to plan, right? Number 6, does this require flood insurance? The waterfront property you're looking at, the best way to know this is to look on the tax record. If you go to Tennessee Property Viewer, you can find out that way. Your agent your agent can help you look at the tax record and see if flood insurance is required. So that's something. And then lastly, location and money. So some gorgeous, very beautiful waterfront properties with year-round water are back in the middle of nowhere. And they need well water, they need septic, and they take an hour off the interstate to get to. Maybe they don't even have internet, okay? But they have a beautiful water view. But Amazon doesn't deliver, you know what I'm saying? Probably Amazon delivers, but like Uber Eats will not, okay? Or do you need to be in town? Do you want public water? Do you want what do you want? And this goes back to what your requirements are, why are you buying it to begin with? And then that's going to dictate what body of waters, or your location, okay? And as far as location, obviously, maybe it's not so obvious, but the closer into downtown you are, downtown Knoxville as an example, the more expensive this property is going to be. So I want to throw that out there to you. So that is your quick and dirty Knox area waterfront property 101, the basic things you need to know. TBA is in charge. That's the bottom line. And beyond that, you can have a lot of fun. There's also the TWRA, which they are the ones that they're like the police on the water, basically. But we're not worried about that right now. We worry about that once you have your waterfront property, okay? So I hope this has been helpful. As always, if you want me to send you a checklist for all this, or a guide, please text me. My number is below. And if you want more information like this, as always, please subscribe, because I love making this stuff. I'm a teacher. What can I say? I love talking, obviously. That being said, I'm Haley Jones, and I'll see you on the next video.